So when pruning your fruit trees, you want to have one good leader branch growing straight up. If there were to be another one on the other side going up, we would cut that right off. In this case, we have one good leader established going straight up. Hey, Matt the Garden Guy here. Welcome to In the Garden with Matt the Garden Guy. Hey, sorry, duty calls, gotta take care of my kids. So we are going to be talking about pruning today in this episode. Pruning, man, so important to do with your fruit trees, your berries, your blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. They need pruning so much. It improves fruit and growth. So let's talk about pruning. The first thing we're going to start talking about is trees. I know it could be extremely intimidating. You're like, why do I want to cut that stuff? You need to, and I know it's scary, but I make it easy for you. Follow my steps, and you'll have some awesome fruit production. Let's go check out those trees. Your fruit trees, we want to cut these suckers off. Suckers there are on the bottom going around the tree, and those suckers are coming from the root. They're typically going to be down on the bottom, very bottom, probably underneath the dirt, so you might need to dig some of the dirt back. Then you want to go ahead and cut those suckers right off. So another thing when pruning your trees, if you have any of them leaning back into the tree, we want to cut those right off, and we're going to want to cut them right there at the knuckle. So I said you want to cut the ones that are going into the inside of the tree. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my snippers here, and I'm going to cut it right there. And that's what we want to do for all of them that are growing into the middle of the tree. So as we start looking at our tree, we want to cut that one off right there. We want to cut these off up here. I guess, and try to get them close to the knuckle as possible. And we're going to go along most of the tree and do that. All right, so when we're pruning a tree, we want our shape, and we also typically want to have about three different layers. So we have our first layer right here, these guys going up. We have our second layer right here, and then I have another layer right up here. Those are typically where we want to have our fruit at. So when your tree is all pruned up, this is how it should look. We have all the suckers gone, and we can pretty much go right through our tree without anything coming out and poking us. This is the same with our cherry tree. You can see we cut a lot off in the cherry tree. And again, it's really good. And the big thing is we want to make sure we go right through it without them hitting us. Same with our other pear tree right over here. So when you're pruning your trees or your bushes, you're going to want to cut at least a third of it off. I know it can seem very scary or intimidating, but trust me, it is very healthy and very good for your trees.
If you have your little helpers around you, give them something to do. She really wanted to help feed these bird feeders up, so, she enjoys it. Let her go to town and fill them up. We'll go throw them over on our bird feeders there. She does a great job at this.
Hey, so now that we've got our fruit trees all nice and pruned, let's go start talking about our blueberries. It's going to be the same exact concept like we did with our trees here. I'll go show you what I'm talking about. So just like our fruit trees, we have to prune our berries. So right now I'm going to show you how I prune my blueberries. Alright, so with my blueberry bush here, I'm going to prune them the same exact way I prune my trees. So any branches, so like this one right here, growing into the middle, we're going to go ahead and just cut that out. So we're going to do our three things. We're going to look for direction, diseased, and damage. Those are how we're going to base the majority of our pruning. And then we're going to circle back and chop some of it off. So as we go through it, just going to find the branches that are going towards the inside, and it's going to complete that process, find any of the damaged ones and any of the diseased ones, and then we'll come back and look at the rest. So as you can see right here, this blueberry bush is crazy funky. It's out of the control. We got a lot of cleanup work to do on this. I'm gonna try to leave most of it after I'm done with it. Again, we're focusing on trying to clean out the middle. The reason why we want to clean out the middle as much as possible is we want to be able to make sure air can flow through it and the plant can breathe really good. So I'm going to go ahead and actually cut this middle one out right here. It's dead. And I know it could be very nerve-wracking and kind of unsure of what to do. Don't worry, it will come back, and it's very important that we get these things pruned and cleaned up. So I would say springtime is the best time. Early spring is the best time to do these pruning because berries are going to start producing their fruit very quick. And we want to make sure they're nice and pruned and ready to go. And remember, pruning does pretty much two things. Stimulates growth to make it bigger and puts its power towards making your fruit. This one was pretty gnarly. It's pretty messed up. This one's going to take me quite a while to do here. It's really important that we spend time on this and make sure we get it cleaned up. So I've trimmed up almost about a third of this plant. That's typically what we want to do on pruning. We want to take about a third of the plant away. If you do a little bit more, that's okay. We just want to make sure we don't do, we don't want to do 2/3 of the plant. If you can do, if you want to try to stay right around that third as much as possible. But sometimes we just have to take a little bit more off. And again, that's perfectly okay. This is going to stimulate a lot more growth and have the plant grow bigger and a lot more healthier too. So continue to go through this. I planted this bush last year and it grew really crazy, but there's a lot of broken pieces on it. So there's a lot that I need to do. And I'm actually worried. This big piece here that was kind of touching the other guy, I'm gonna go ahead and just chop it off completely because I think there's gonna be more. I think what's gonna happen is disease is gonna get in there and it's gonna ruin the whole plant. So I'm gonna go ahead and just chop the whole thing off. Not something I wanted to do. Was not really happy with that, but in the long run, it will really, really, really help our berry plant here. So again, it's gonna keep going through, gonna prune the stuff off, cut the stuff off that is touching the other branches so they don't rub against each other and have that happen again in the future. Alrighty, so I'm gonna say this guy's done. You remember how it looked before we started? They're all into everything like that. I got it cleaned up a lot better. There's still a couple of them that are growing into each other. This one, I'm gonna chop this guy off right here. But I think it's way, way better. This one was actually broken. There's nothing you can do about that. If they're broken, you definitely gotta get them off. So I think this one's a lot better. And I'm gonna continue to go down my blueberry batch here, get them all pruned up and cleaned up. Gotta remember the three things: disease, damage, and direction. We want our plants growing up and outwards. We do not want our plants growing into each other. If they're growing into each other, we need to chop those off. If they're rubbing against each other, we want to chop them off. If they're diseased, chop them off. And after we do all of that, we want to find our tallest going up, and we want to cut a third off of it. Trust me, it works. If you follow this tip, you're going to have some awesome blueberries.
So it's time to take a break and just move over into the hoop house here. I got some dirt that I need to spread out. I want to get some plants in here. I got some radishes, some beets, and a few other things to plant. So yeah, I'm just gonna get this out, take a little break here, get some other stuff in the ground.
So in here in the hoop house, I'm planting. I've never used this seed tape. So I'm using this seed tape from Burpee, and I just planted some radishes. And now I'm getting ready to plant some beets. So I just got my trench built where the seed tape is gonna go. It's pretty cool. Comes in this like toilet paper kind of contraption. So far, I'm liking it. I just peel it apart and lay it down. So you can see right here, I had the seed tape down in the trench. And then I'm just gonna backfill it with a little bit of dirt. And that's about it. Pretty simple. We'll see how it goes. And there we go. I have my spinach planted. I have my beets and radishes, and then over here I have some lettuce and some spinach. Super excited to get stuff growing. So now that we've done our fruit tree pruning and our blueberry patch pruning, we're gonna head over to our raspberries and blackberries. I'll show you how I prune them over there.
So raspberry canes that are going to produce fruit this year need to be pruned back about a quarter of the length. So if it's 4 feet, you're going to take a foot off. And if you forgot to cut your red raspberries all the way to the ground, the canes, go ahead and do them right now. But make sure you're not cutting the new ones coming up. How do you tell? Well, the old ones are going to look dead and they're going to be brown. Your new ones are going to be red and look very green. Note, some raspberry canes cannot be cut. So just do your research on what type of raspberries you have. For instance, I grow golden raspberries. Those can get up to 8 feet tall and I have them looping around. I'm going to keep those until the cane is no longer red where it turns brown. Also with blackberries, when you're going to prune your blackberries, if you see any brown canes, cut them all the way down to the ground. Go see what I just did.
You see how the cane here is red? This one is brown. We're gonna cut this cane all the way down on the bottom. That is how we'll prune our blackberries. We did take all the foliage off here in spring. You don't take it off, you take it off in spring, not winter time. So yeah, this is brown. We're gonna cut this off as far as we can get down. If we don't, a specific beetle will come in and rot out this whole thing.
So when you're cutting them, you want to make sure you keep the red canes. Like I said, you want to cut the brown ones all the way down to the ground as much as you can. If you don't cut those back, they will actually have some type of beetle that comes by, which is very hard to get rid of.
Hey, so in this next quick part, was recorded right before the winter time. So I'll show you what I do to my raspberries to prep them for the winter, which then ultimately leads to pruning.
So I'm going to take a moment to step away and go into my raspberry patch right now that I have. Right now, all the leaves have died off. You might say, well, why aren't we cutting these down? Well, a lot of these canes, or what these are called, have already came up for next year. So right now, you see how this cane is all red? This is a really good cane. When canes start getting really brown and really black, that's when you know they're dead and they're time to cut off. So now that our awesome blackberries have got all cleaned up, our berries and trees, they're good to go. Burp, 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 burp. Weather station. It's amazing what they do. Hey, go check out the mistake I did when I put that thing up. I'll put the video down below. It's kind of funny. Learn from my mistakes on this. But yeah, blackberries are all done. Raspberries are all done. That's pretty much it. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. It means the world to me. If you could, please remember to hit that subscribe button right down below. And you'll get notifications for videos just like this. You'll also help me spread my mission on teaching people on how to grow their own food. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later.